Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fire Force Chapter 193. When we last left our heroes, Shinra and Burns were getting into a knockdown, drag-out fight, and despite some good hits on Shinra's part, Burns was feeling pretty alright. Shinra, on the other hand, was not feeling pretty alright. He's bloodied up and beat up and everything. And the chapter ended on a kind of weird discussion between Shinra and Burns that I didn't quite follow. Something about Burns welcoming Shinra with open arms if he was trying to change the system or something. It was kind of vague and kind of out of nowhere. So I hope this chapter kind of expands on that. Anyway, so here's our cover picture of this weird armored angel. Undefeatable. The hero has arrived. Chapter 193, The Hero and the Lion. And so we open where we left off. Burns still arms wide. Since you say that, I guess I have to keep going until I have you convinced. I'll show you. And we have the little blurb here. Shinra versus Burns. Show us your stubbornness. I'll show you. I will be a hero. So again, I still don't quite know what those few lines at the end of last chapter were about, but whatever. Anyway, Shinra gets ready into a battle pose to go back at him. I made a promise, after all, that I'd become a hero to protect Mom and Sho. And I do love that we see, his mom after she's been infernalized with the horns for eyes, cradling baby Sho. It's a really cool image. I will protect my family, be it Sho or the Eighth. For them, I would go as far as taking on the world, or God himself. Speaking of Sho, Sho is walking in an underground tunnel with, I'm presuming Arrow, but we don't get a close enough look at their face to know if it's Arrow. But he shudders. And yeah, it is Arrow. And Sho pauses. Is something wrong, boss? Something is interfering with my universe. An Adola link. Sho. And we see... Sho is having the Adola link here, as he flashes back to being a little baby in the crib, and little kid Shinra gives him a fist bump, and Sho kind of touches his fist. Who are this warm sensation? Who could be interfering with my universe right now? And Arrow looks at him, clearly concerned. Also interesting on this, the panel on the right of the second row of page 8, Arrow's pupils are pointing upwards, where normally they're pointing downwards. Maybe it's just a drawing error. Maybe it means something that we don't know about Arrow, because we don't know a whole lot about Arrow. But anyway, her look of concern kind of fades and she frowns. Brother? That day when I came to my senses, I had lost... we're back in Shinra's head, my bad. That day when I came to my senses, I had lost everything. My family. Everything I cared for. That's why I don't see lives as cheap or valuable. They're all precious to me. I want to be a hero that can save everyone. And even if my conviction holds as true now as it did then. And he flashes back to Conroe. Thanks. I appreciate you feel that way. I'll take you up on that. Until you find what really means the world to you. I don't remember when that line is from. I don't know. There is someone precious to me, who I absolutely won't lose to. And we see, the top part of his face is shadowed out, and some Japanese characters appear on it. I can't read that, and I'm not translated, so I don't know what it says. I'm relying too much on the pressure of death. I guess I'm almost at my overheat limit. And we see, the flames on his ankles are kind of, petering out. Captain Burns' flames are still getting hotter. I only have a slim chance. And he blasts off at Burns. I'll give it everything I've got. And Burns gets ready for another Voltage Nova. Stage 4 now, as if things weren't tough enough already. And Joker just kind of watches all this passively. And Shinra goes in for another kick. It's really tiny on that panel. We see the sound effect well overshadows both Shinra and Burns. And then we flash back to... I think that might be Hibana and Iris' church. Out of nowhere. We see someone praying in, monk robes. So I don't think that's actually the convent, because those were nuns, and these are clearly, monks. And yes, two guys. We see a kid praying constantly while everyone is like playing around him. These two adults. That kid is really focused on his prayers. I'm going to assume that's a young Burns. And then we see this guy. One of the kids has put what I think is an ice cream bowl or a bowl full of shit. I'm not sure. Another kid is holding a snake to put on young Burns' head. I grant you the name Leonard. The lion banishes all evil. And young Burns, Latome. Burn this holy calling into your being. I guess the head priest presses his hand on Burns' head. It is an honor. Christian name Leonard Burns. There's an interesting thing. 'Cause, like, unless... So, it kind of... If the phrase Christian name is for those of you who aren't quite caught up with your knowledge, especially in the realm of European imperialism, when, especially in the New World, a lot of, like, Spanish monks would come and they'd, convert the native populations and they'd give them a more European name. That European name was called the Christian name. I'm not sure if the term was used for like Europeans, because their Christian name would have been their only name, so I doubt the name would have come up as much. But maybe that's the kind of thing Okubo is leaning into here. But also, my main thing is that the Church of the Sun is not Christianity. Like, that's kind of, like, it's very clearly, like, Catholic inspired, in its architecture from a writer's standpoint. But it's very clearly not Christianity. So I don't know if that does mean that maybe there is after the Great Disaster and most of the world burns, that it's the Catholic Church that comes in and kind of guides things to the Church of the Sun. But then why would they name their generator Amaterasu, which is a Japanese god? I don't know. The use of, maybe I'm looking way too deep into it. But the phrase Christian name kind of blows open a lot of things to think about. I don't know. It falls upon you to protect this empire, to be its claws, its fangs, to be its lion, avenge the empire, and banish all evil. Avenge is another weird word choice, because the empire is doing pretty hot right now. Pardon the pun. I mean, like, they're on top of the world. There are no other real governments around. What is he avenging? Anyway, Burns responds to Latome. I swore a vow sealed in prayer. I prayed to be a servant of God, to be the Empire's lion, to banish all devils. And there's that Shinra devil imagery. Is that all? Devil. So it looks like we see Shinra's kick, and Burns is like, just not having it. Your aspirations to be a hero. Is this all they amount to? Shinra! God desires destruction. I am a servant of God. There is no other road for me to follow. Anything that goes against that is an affront to the natural order of this world. You're gonna defeat the obstinate old geezer then? Insolence! And Shinra yells at him, My kick won't be stopped, no matter who I face. Whether it's you, Captain Burns, or the Lord Almighty himself. And we see the explosion of Shinra's kick, emanates, blows up past Burns. Though we know that does not mean that Burns is blown up too, because that's not how explosions work on Fire Force. And Burns just kind of coughs. And activates his next form, Voltage Nova Stage 5. Without breaking, without yielding, whose convictions will shine through. To be continued after 194, Indomitable. Alright then. I think we're moving into... So my theory has been, for the longest time, that the fight would be, eventually the rest of the crew would beat, I'm forgetting their names, Dragon, and the rest of those guys, I'm fully drawing a blank. I want to say Enforcers, but I know it's not. Dragon, and the one other guy, who's still around. I figured they would beat, the rest of the crew would beat the two of them, and then they would join in with the fight with Burns, because the fight with Burns is very clearly like what the climax of the arc is. You know, the arc is all about rescuing Obi, and so that would make sense that that was the final thing in the arc, is rescuing Obi, beating Burns, or at the very least defeating Burns to the point where they can get Obi out of there if they can't beat Burns yet. But given what's going on by the end of this chapter, I'm thinking that, you know, we're in the final stage of this fight. Maybe not the final stage of Voltage Nova, but given all of this, it feels like it's the final moments. You know, next chapter might be it. Whether or not Burns wins, whether or not Shinra wins, I think can go either way. Shinra, of course, is not going to die, but Burns wouldn't kill Shinra anyway because, you know, he needs, or the Evangelist needs Shinra, because he's one of the pillars. So I do think it could kind of go either way. You know, Burns wins or Shinra wins. I couldn't tell you who's going to win this one. You know, the title is Indomitable. And I can kind of... So I do think it's going to end, you know... Next chapter will have one of the two combatants down, defeated, and like the other one standing tall as the indomitable one. And a part of me thinks that's going to be Burns. I honestly think Shinra is going to lose this fight next chapter and be a captive of the Evangelist for at least a little while. I mean, he's clearly not going to die because he's the main character. But I think a lot could happen, you know? With Shinra being held captive. Also, Sho is getting his memories back a little bit. Not yet. It's only like a 3-page moment of Sho. But, you know, Hamea, I think it was Hamea, wiped his memory at the end of another one, and he's kind of been, you know, blank slate, servant of the Evangelist Sho ever since. But now he has this dual link with Shinra for a hot sec. And again, looking at Arrow seems to be genuinely concerned. So, like, I know it's kind of obvious that at some point Sho will rejoin the Company 8. And I think Arrow will come with him. At this point, it's starting to feel like Arrow's allegiances are more with Sho than with the Evangelist. And I wish we spent more time in Arrow's headspace so we could actually see that. But I do see Arrow going where Sho goes, rather than where the Evangelist tells her to go, at this point. But yeah, other than that, again, it's another great fight chapter. This fight is really, really killing it. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to say besides, who do y'all think is gonna win? So I'm gonna leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe or, you know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!